This tutorial is to show you how do you create page layout with Bootstrap 4. In order for you to create a page layout in Bootstrap, you have to remember 3 steps. Step 1. Create a box or container to hold all contents of your page. This can be done by using the div tag in HTML. Then step 2, look at your page layout and try to see how you can organize them into rows. Step 3, look at your content and see how many columns do you need to create within each row. Let's look at this page layout here. So, in order for you to create this page layout, what you need to think now is that first step is to create the container or the box to hold this layout. So you have to decide which CSS class that you can use in Bootstrap to help you create this type of container where the width of the layout here is actually 100% of the screen width. In order for you to do this, you have to use a class called container-fluid. However, if you happen to have a fixed width layout, that means the width of your layout is not 100% of the screen width. What you can do is that you have to use the class called container. Okay, then now let me show you how do we create this container, or we call the box that we use to hold all the content for this page now. So this is a sample structure of a page that made use of Bootstrap. First of all, we will need to have this CSS style called bootstrap.min.css linked to this page so that we can use whatever styles provided by Bootstrap. The second one that you see over here is actually a link to the CSS files that we can use to utilize whatever icons provided by Font Awesome. And here is a link to the CSS file that we can use for this page. I mean, this is the customized style that you have created beside the one provided by Bootstrap. And all this here are the JavaScript that have to be used by the page for you to implement those effects provided in Bootstrap. So let us start now. The first thing here is that we have to create a container that holds all the content for the page that you saw just now. So what happened is that here, in order for me to start my page, I have to create the container. So to start a container, I have to start with the tag called div, and I will have to make use of the class called container or container fluid. But since the layout that you saw just now is actually 100% width, so what we have to do is that we have to create container dash fluid. It means we will attach the style called container dash fluid to this div tag. So this is the first thing that you have to do in order for you to create the container to hold all content of your page. The next step is that you have to create the rows. Based on the design that you see just now, we have at least about 4 rows. So what you can do is that you start a new div tag, and this one you have to make use of something called row, and then that's how you close it. So now you will notice that I have indented all my codes here. The reason that I indent the codes is that it will be easy for us to identify our codes here. For example, if I highlight here, I know that this div tag here will be closed on at this line number 18, and for this one it will close in line number 17. Now what I have done is that I have created just one row. Now I have to create the other rows. So what I can do, I can actually copy paste all of this because they are the same, so I can just reuse them. So now I have 4 rows here, and I save my file first. Now once I have done this here, means that I have already created the container as well as the rows for my page. If you look at our design over here, you notice that in the first row I only have one column that stretches from one end to another end. The same applies to the second row. However, the third row over here will have 2 columns. There are 2 equal sized columns. And then when you look at the last part, the footer part, there's also one column that stretches from one corner to the other corner. So now let's go to the code and see how we can do that. So let's start creating the first column into the first row here. So to do that, put your cursor within the first div that utilize the class called row, and after that you create div tag that make use of the class called col dash. Okay, now whatever value that you put here, now it depends on when do you want the design that you see just now to appear on. That means, do you want to see the design from a small screen onward, large screen onward, or medium screen onwards? So what you can do now is that, let's say for example, in my exercise here, I want the design to look like that from a laptop screen onward. In order for you to do that, you have to use the keyword LG. If you want it to be from a medium screen onward, then you have to use MD. And if you want it from a small screen onwards, SM. So now stick back to LG. Now, how many columns do you want it to spread to? In Bootstrap, you understand that it makes use of a 12 column grid. So since I only have one column, so what I can do is that I put 12 here, and I close my div tag. So now I have my first column. For the next row, it's the same as the first row, as it contains only one column. So what I can do, again, I can copy and paste the same code here, so that it contains just one column. This also is the same for the final column here, except for the third one. So let's say now if I want to do the columns for the third row where we have two columns, what we can do is that again we can paste this code here. However, I have to change this to 6 because I want them to have equal width. So again, this one I will copy this and put into here. So now I have two columns within the third row. So that's it. This is how we can create a basic layout using Bootstrap.